John Felt here, and this is the Blue Water Outlook Weekly Weather Briefing for April 12th, 2025. We're in April. This can be some of the peak of severe weather season. I'm going to be talking about that in a post this week, sort of an update on severe weather season. But right now, most days this week, it looks fairly quiet. So let's get started in today's weather briefing. Well, first off, let's talk about where our weather risk will be, and there will be a chance of some severe weather in a fairly small part of the Ohio River Valley on Monday, and some colder weather lingering into the eastern U.S., and then our ongoing flooding. But overall, it looks like a less busy and less active week this week than we had in March into maybe early April. Now, any rain last week? Well, here we go. The Pacific Northwest, mainly higher elevations, and this big area of rain here in the southeast U.S. mainly came early in the period, and that's affecting rivers in those areas. Now, the snow season's coming to an end here, but there's still some snow. Matter of fact, if you look at the higher elevations of the Rockies, it's really beginning to shrink, say in Colorado, for example. But last week we did have some snow over the Great Lakes region into the northeast U.S., some problems in the northeast with some ice and some snow. Any snow and ice that falls this time of year is going to melt very quickly in those areas. So last week, areas in blue experienced below normal temperatures. And you might have heard how the western U.S. has experienced really warm weather. Phoenix hit 100 degrees already. That doesn't usually occur until sometime in May. So these were the average temperatures, and this is going to be pushing off to the east and warming up, displacing this cool air and warming things up. You know, I noticed this here, and this is really unfortunate if this occurs. This is one of the NOAA climate centers. This is the High Plains Regional Climate Center, and I use climate data centers information all the time, every week, and it's considered to me operational data, and it's really a shame that one of these grants looks like it's going to be discontinued, and we're just going to be missing this data. And I'm seeing this in my world through the environmental science world. Laboratories are having cuts. And much of this information, some of it's pure research, but a lot of it's operational data I use, Climate Prediction Center information. You'll see this spread all through these briefings, and this would be really unfortunate if we lose this information. Okay, so this is the hottest temperatures last week, and anything in yellow, 80 degrees or warmer. So we had some really cool weather in spots here, and we had some warmer weather as well. In many spots. And that's what we see in spring, sort of alternating temperature regimes. Okay, so one of the things I always find interesting is this progression of spring as measured by the leaf and the bloom index. And I show the leaf index a lot. This is the bloom index. This is the fully blooming leaves and vegetation fully open. And the reason this is interesting is, to me, is that this alters the amount of evapotranspiration that comes into the atmosphere, the lower atmosphere, and it tends to increase the dew point. So what you see here is now 40-degree dew points sort of tracking that full bloom index, and I think what that means is it's going to feel a little bit more moist out there, a little bit more humidity, and a little bit more moisture to fuel thunderstorms as well. So keep that in mind. Okay, so we do have this ongoing flooding from the past heavy rain in March into April. It's coming down the Ohio and the lower Mississippi, especially affecting communities in red, which is moderate flooding. Purple is major flooding. What we see here is we see the far upper reaches of the Ohio are beginning to fall pretty quickly. Evansville is just near crest at moderate flood stage. But what I want to point out here is on the lower Mississippi, all the way from Memphis all the way down, so much water is coming down. We have this really broad crest that's going to last a week. This isn't a crest that's going to sort of hit the highest stage and fall. This is going to last. It's going to stay up there for a while because there's so much water that's working its way through. So keep that in mind. Matter of fact, this is the far lower Mississippi, and you can see here this is the 23rd and 25th of the month, and it's just getting to crest. Okay, so let's get back to the forecast this week. And what we have is this ridge of high pressure here. And what that's going to do is that's going to extend over our area and it will bring some really warm weather to the area. So this is let's go back here. This is today, and then this is Thursday. So what's the difference? Is it comes down a little bit and a cold front passes. So what we're going to have is in many spots over the central U.S. is some really warm weather. It's going to pull back a bit, and then it's going to warm up again. Now next week, this is next Sunday, I think we're going to have a little bit different type pattern here. We're going to have this area of low pressure, and that's going to give a better chance of rain in the plains than we had this week. So let's sort of dig down a little bit more into temperature and rainfall. So here's the temperatures the next 5 days. We have some really warm weather over the western U.S., some cooler weather in the eastern U.S. So we're talking about frost, maybe freezes in the east, and we're talking about record high temperatures in the west. I saw Phoenix hit 100 degrees already, which is early, usually not till early to mid-May before Phoenix gets that 100-degree reading. This is the second 5 days, and this is the third 5 days. So keep an eye on that. This front's coming through Monday. That's going to cool things down a bit. It'll bring some of that cooler air in. But we're going to have plenty of warm air this week. This is Sunday. 90s up into Oklahoma, 80s into Kansas and Missouri. And then again on Thursday, some really warm air the latter part of the week. So some pulses of really warm air. Now, where's the cooler air going to linger? Perhaps the northern plains and the northeast U.S. What about rain? Well, it looks fairly quiet this week again. I certainly don't see enough rain to change anything on our rivers, but there could be some significant rain, and right along the Canadian border, the Great Lakes into the far northeast, it could come as snow. Okay, now week 2, it still looks like, sort of look at these two graphs up here, 6 to 10 and 8 to 14. We have this dividing line here, cool air to the east, warm air to the west. So if you're in the northeast, mid-Atlantic and northeast, you're probably going to be frustrated if you want that warmer weather, at least for a while. And then as we get into week 2, again, the most significant warm anomalies are right through the plains. As far as rain goes, this is the difference in week 2, is maybe some more rain in this area in dark green. That's this week's weekly weather briefing. If you have any questions or comments, you like what I'm doing, you want me to sort of focus on a different direction, let me know. john.bwoweather@gmail.com. Have a great week.